Thank you, Juan, for providing our intro song there. And welcome, guys, to episode 36 of the Weekly. And we have Mr. Juan Bagnell, who is on the move, so to speak.
Yeah, we're on the go, so we're gonna try this. It's I'm streaming from my phone, and I have no idea how well this is gonna work. So yeah, I'll stay in as long as I can. The Google gods be praised.
Okay, all right, cool. All right, let's jump in. Right, so a couple of things. Let's start off with well, I don't think we have a uselessness this week. I'm not exactly sure if there is anyone.
I have a mini uselessness actually. It just came to my attention this morning.
Okay.
And Lumia 950 devices are going out. Like Microsoft is doing like fan reviews.
Yeah.
And so the Microsoft blog republished one of the fan reviews from the guys at One Stop Tech Shop. Lenny he used to be a Nokia blogger, wrote up this review. They have some photo samples of the Lumia 950, and Microsoft republishes their review on their site as a blog post. And Tom from The Verge starts calling them out on it. So Tom from The Verge starts tweeting about how this is completely unacceptable. Microsoft is paying for reviews. I don't know if he says paying, but he says Microsoft is writing their own reviews on their products, and that it shows Microsoft has no confidence in Windows Phone if this is what they're resorting to. It starts this little brouhaha with like the few Windows Phone fans that are still left, and it was pretty crazy. Little Twitter exchange between Lenny at One Stop Tech Shop and Tom Warren from The Verge last night. The little inside baseball drama there.
So did it clear out? I mean, before I jump in and start talking some shit, what's the present situation there?
Well, it's that Tom is still sort of sticking to this idea that Microsoft is somehow trying to co-opt SEO for more positive reviews on Windows Phone, when I think Microsoft has done a reasonably good job of detailing that this is a fan review, that it's republished from another blog. So I'm not surprised to see someone from The Verge subtly misrepresenting the truth, because it makes for a more salacious story that then benefits traffic for The Verge.
I mean, okay, so yeah, I mean, I think let me jump in there on that, because this goes to the point of, remember with the tweet we had yesterday about the comment from, was it what magazine also gave a funny review about the
Wall Street Journal. It was Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal reviewed the Lumia 950, but the frustration there was their review focused on their review wasn't a review. I mean, they basically listed the specs off the side of the box. They talked about Continuum for a paragraph. They put up two photos that were terrible photos in awful light, and then they focused mostly on the fact that there aren't apps for Windows Phone. So it was just a really lazy effort from Wall Street Journal, because this is all hack Windows Phone commentary. Like we all know these talking points, but they didn't actually review the phone,
Yeah. Okay.
So it's not a review, it's a preview or it's an overview, but don't call that a review if you've only used the device for a day and you don't even have photos of it to show on a blog. I think you need to have at least a day or two under your belt and more than two photos to show what a smartphone is like.
Definitely. All right. So going back to my point, this goes back to companies, Microsoft included, doing a selective process of sending out reviews.
I'm here.
Oh, my bad. Sorry, Warren. Warren's here.
Hello, Warren.
What's going on?
Yeah. So basically, we started off usenesses of the week because I don't know if you heard it, but Lenny, what's Lenny's site again?
One Stop Tech Shop.
So One Stop Tech Shop, right? He's part of like the Microsoft Insider program. So he had the Lumia 950, did his review. Microsoft republished it on the blog as a fan review.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tom Warren, not to be confused by the Warren,
regulated right here. Deal with it.
Says that Microsoft is trying to cheat SEO and goes on this little brouhaha when even though it's clearly stated, hey, this is a fan review and we are reposting it on our blog. Now, my own point,
commenting on anyone about cheating SEO.
Cheating, exactly. That's the first thing. Thank you very much. The first thing is just from The Verge. The second thing, this goes back to bite all these companies in the ass. When you placate and you cater to the big blogs in this way, I'm not saying you don't send them stuff. I'm not sitting here advocating don't send The Verge stuff or don't send. But let me tell you something. It's very simple. When you pamper someone and they think they're special and then they have you on a carrot stick, simply put in English, they will fuck you up. Simple.
Well, I don't think there's any question that Microsoft's sort of review strategy on the 950 is sketchy. You know, it's not the strongest way to launch a phone from a company if they really have confidence in the phone. But it's still, I think they've done their due diligence in clearly identifying, you know, this is a review that is coming from a fan, and we're republishing it just like Nokia used to do with their Voices blogs. If you remember the old Nokia Voices program, where it was all about fan outreach. So for someone like Tom at The Verge to get their panties in a twist over Microsoft doing this, it's also like you can go to Apple's site right now and find conversations with people about how much they love Apple products. And Apple republishes that on their site in full HD video.
Well, the problem here, almost every company does that on their own website. That's like sitting there saying we can't publish reviews from our own fans that are on reviewing our product, because that doesn't make any sense at all. Just because they put out a review.
The problem is that Microsoft didn't republish The Verge's review of the 950.
Because it wasn't all that great of a review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're supposed to republish the negative comment about their product they're trying to sell.
Well, and also,
what is wrong with you?
Well, and it's also it's a problem where with a Verge review, if Microsoft republishes that, it's going to be a review talking all about the iPhone.
Yeah.
I mean,
they have no incentive to do.
It's two things here. One of them being that Tom Moore shouldn't be saying anything or commenting on things like this, especially with saying they're trying to trick SEO. First of all, if he knew anything about SEO whatsoever, he wouldn't be. That really isn't going to do much of anything for you, just reposting a blog. Isn't going to necessarily sudden work for you in terms of putting out more positive reviews. And secondly, The Verge plays SEO games on their website all the damn time, so they do a bunch of SEO tricks. It's the name of the game, so they're the last ones that ever need to comment about that.
All right, let me.
The second part of this is the fact that this is something where Microsoft and all of the companies need to learn about when they start this sort of, when they don't fully push out their products to a wider audience of reviewers, and you have it skewed to only a certain section or only a certain size, and you start treating these certain places special. This is the kind of reviews that you get. A great example, Samsung. We've all worked with Samsung before. Samsung is probably the best example of them not doing that, where they just kind of put their products out to as many reviews as they could possibly can to get a wide range of reviews, so you get some good and some bad,
right?
And the whole spectrum about the product. They didn't do this one time, and that was on the S5, and you saw how badly the S5 did, and that completely switched up right after that. They went back to what they normally would do. So I'm hoping that all the companies see this sort of interaction and start to look at it and say, well, we need to widen our approach in terms of how we want the message to be spoken about our product.
Okay,
so,
let me state.
Well, and also, but I think Microsoft is doing a good enough job of that. Is The Verge has the 950 for review. The Wall Street Journal published their review before this fan review went out, so it's not that one-sided. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it isn't. But this is my problem, right? After Tom Warren goes on his little mini rant, I'm looking at the review of the 950. I'm looking at the breakdown. The review was done by a guy named Daniel Seifert. I apologize if I mispronounce his name, but he goes on to say the Lumia 950 has a dense 20 megapixel resolution camera, takes fine photos. I see not a single image in this review to even justify
Right.
it. It says they aren't breathtaking, but they aren't glaring. And I swear, if they dare mention that the iPhone 6 camera is better than this, I will slap someone. Because I know my Lumia 920 camera is still better than the iPhone. Let's just put it that way. Then,
go ahead, sorry.
Then, you know, I mean, literally, they do a breakdown. I understand they have issues with the device. Whatever, that's the case may be. They rated a 6.5. Good stuff, sharp display, fast performance, reliable camera. The bad stuff, price is too high for what it is, cheap materials, boring design, weak app support. Now, when you look at their breakdown, they don't actually go into as much detail as you would like for a site like this. This is not also where we do a lot of video and then we do a supplementary written pitch and say, okay, these are kind of like the key highlights you should check out. And I'm going, if you guys are writing such shitty stuff, why the hell are you complaining about a device you don't care about?
Why is it so personally? Why is Tom so personally affected by someone writing a positive review, which then got republished? That's sort of a silly shenanigan for someone who's supposed to be on one of the largest tech blogs in the world to be engaged in.
God, I wonder how pissed off he's gonna get with me when I post my band tutor review. Me about that. Oh, you actually reviewed the product. Oh, I didn't just put this in, oh, we have to review this because this is part of our checkbox of things we need to review. I need to use it for a week, which actually turns into probably about a couple of days, write about it, and then move on to the next product. That's what larger tech sites do because that's just how they function. So for him to just get mad about a device I think he personally doesn't really care about or doesn't think highly of, and because they republished a review that gave them positive vibes, which any company would do.
It's a fan review. I mean, it's not even just a fan review.
Any company would do that. Any single company out there does this.
No, but it's a tradition Microsoft has continued from Nokia. The Nokia fan program is something I have done before.
That's how I kind of came into being a tech blogger, was doing Nokia influencer meetups.
Yeah, I mean, Warren, remember that time when you always used to mention, like, I do a lot of Nokia videos? I mean, I got most of the devices through that, and I did my reviews, and, you know, they share the stuff out because that's what they are supposed to do. So when you now want to start bitching about that, like, to me, you know what? It's enough. Let's just stop talking about The Verge and just move on. Because
because again, it's the last thing I want to say is it just sort of speaks to the culture of The Verge, where so much of their commentary is built on outrage traffic. You know, they survive by pissing people off and then shutting down the comments on their blog.
It's a bunch of damn hipsters that don't know anything about technology. That's what it is. That's who writes on that site. And I'm not afraid to say that they don't know a whole lot. They think they do. They don't know a whole lot. The one thing they know how to do is to write. They can be a journalist. Okay, you can do that part. You can write the words on the page. Doesn't mean you understand the subject matter. Doesn't mean you understand the content. Yeah. And a lot of those guys do not understand the content they talk about.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to
yes, please.
To Google. So Business Insider is stating that Google wants to stop being an ad company by 2020. Yeah, you gotta diversify. It's no, there's no surprise there. They're saying, according to Business Insider, Google made 89% of its total revenue last year from advertising delivered through its search engine. Remember how we're talking about YouTube not making money? Sure, whatever. Okay, so according to a couple of things, it says it's a bold prediction, but it mirrors the ambition that Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella says. So basically, Google is trying to vie for the cloud, which I find interesting because I think Google. Look, I'm not too versed in here, but I think Google is behind in that section. Amazon has been on there for quite a while. We know Microsoft is making moves. We still have other players in the game, but Google is trying to make a bid for that. That division grew 11% last year, quarter, to $1.8 billion. So, and the advertising revenue in that same quarter was $16.79 billion. So, just generally thoughts on Google trying to diversify its food chain.
Well, I think it makes sense. Google is looking at the cloud in much the same way that Apple looked at smartphones when they came out with the iPhone. So with Amazon being such a core cloud service for so many blogs, I don't think that Amazon's consumer-facing services are as well laid out or as well spec'd out as Google. I think Google actually has a much better strategy for bringing customers, like not business customers, but like regular consumers to the cloud in a way that Amazon hasn't quite found the same level of traction. So I think that makes sense if you start offering those types of services to individuals and not just businesses. I think it's kind of funny though, like we all see the writing on the wall for the advertising economy model. The way that it's currently laid out is not sustainable. So I'll be surprised if Google actually doesn't move on some of these new initiatives very, very quickly.
Yeah, I do agree. Warren?
This is something Google's already been starting to do. When they introduced Android, they were already talking about trying to be something else other than just an advertising company. What they're basically saying is they want the bulk of their money to not just come from advertising. They want to diversify that profit down to other things such as the cloud, such as devices, such as services, and such. So that's why you're seeing them doing a lot of this push for that. Why they push a lot of Google Apps for work and Google Cloud and things of that nature. Trying to get in it from a business side, Amazon pretty much has that particular market unlock. They were in it before anybody else was, and pretty much most of the majority of the major services out there are powered by Amazon. Microsoft's been playing in there a little bit. They're probably the second-tier player, not by a lot. There's a lot of smaller players in the game for that. Google has been in that game. They're trying to put a little bit bigger focus into it, but I think the play they want to do is they want to have a little bit of their business side of it, but they also want to, I think, to take advantage of the opportunity from the consumer front as well too, to push more cloud services in that direction, which is a similar move that Microsoft is also making as well too, because I think everyone's pretty much seeing the writing on the wall. The current ad model, the current ad business isn't something that's going to be as highly profitable today as it will be in 5 years. So there has to be that adjustment that has to happen. And it's just it's not like advertising's going away, but it's just like you can't rely on any single source of income. And even if the model was something sustainable, you would see them still try to diversify this out because you just want more than one type of revenue coming into your business. So it makes a lot of sense for Google to point in that direction.
I also think this really speaks to what we're going to be seeing from Google over the next couple of years with the renewed talk about how they're going to be trying to merge Android and Chrome.
Yeah.
So with Microsoft going out and saying, Windows is now a service and Office 365 is one of their biggest products, and you're going to have one operating system account that sort of follows you around to different screens, and it doesn't matter so much that you have separate operating systems on all these devices. I think this is Google's sort of company-wide ethic at approaching that same business model, where you get people invested in your cloud services, you get consumers invested in your cloud services, and then it doesn't matter what screen they're working from, you have paying customers no matter what hardware they're on.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with all you guys, and this has nothing to do with Google, but I figured I might as well. And again, it's not really a plug, but I wanted to bring this up just because of the whole. Remember when we talked about OneDrive and the silliness that they went through, all that stuff. So I met up with Akonis at PepCom, and they just announced their own cloud backup solution, which is $100 a year, unlimited everything, according to them. So they were
from Acronis?
Yes, they were like.
That sounds like Crash Plan.
Yeah, they were like, we know how Microsoft basically screw people over. So here, this is what we're dropping out. So
anytime a company backtracks on a promise like that, it's an opportunity for someone else to come in and shake things up. So I was actually kind of surprised that we didn't see different tiered pricing from Dropbox or Box.net or Box.com.
Box, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
But no one rose to the challenge. No one rose to the occasion to say, hey, Microsoft is taking this away, but we can do this better. We can do this different. So
I could see it coming. Not yet. I could see the play happening as soon as sort of some of these rules come into effect. Because maybe they gave dates on when these things are going to start happening, so people aren't going to start moving until
then.
until then.
Oh,
So,
that's true. I guess that might be a bit preemptive if someone was out there this second, I guess.
Yeah,
so
true.
I could see Amazon jumping on this and offering their unlimited storage and kind of pushing Prime behind it. I could see the companies like Acronis doing that. I could see more of the companies that are already doing this pushing more advertising, touring, and trying to pull those OneDrive users. This is something easily Google can kind of jump themselves into as well, and not only maybe push their backup and storage solutions, but then that might also get people to use some of their suite of apps like their word processing, their spreadsheets and things of that nature that are pretty decent. They're not on the level, obviously, of Microsoft's Office and productivity applications, but they might work for some people out there.
I think they'll work for a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
We have a comment from Bradley Lotcher. I know Warren responded, but Bradley said, "You guys forgot that iVerge can't be taken seriously."
Well, the problem is that iVerge creates so much extra work for us in undoing the disinformation that they spread about technology.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to that quick topic on Google. Google also announced that with Hangouts, you can now invite people who don't have a Gmail account. That is all fine and dandy as long as they fix Hangouts, which I would just love them to do. But you can now invite people. Please do not do this Hangouts. I'm really sorry if I made any wrong.
And we're done.
Yeah, but basically, I mean, it's a nice feature that you can invite people who don't have Gmail accounts or who don't want to use a Gmail account. But if you want to set up a Hangout, you still need to have a Gmail account. So that's
well, my sentiment is right in line with yours, though, where it's nice that we can add more people to Hangouts, but it would be better if we could fix Hangouts before we add more people to Hangouts.
Hangouts, yes, definitely so. Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to T-Mobile. So the FCC says that binge on is cool, and he that they like it. This is the paraphrase statement. He says explains that the implementation of Bing on does not appear to violate FCC rules.
Good.
Yeah, paid prioritization, and that it should instead be considered in terms of the agency's general conduct rules. So it doesn't fall into the net neutrality rules that were passed because because there's no finances involved, which is why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's exactly the kind of ruling we needed from an official source over some of those concerns that we had, because this was so gray area. And I think as long as this can now be implemented consistently, so like if an AT&T turns around and does something similar, and we don't hear some kind of government backlash from that, then I think this is cool. I think this is actually a really cool service to move forward for consumers, so long as everyone gets the same opportunity to participate with it.
I think the barrier of entry really is not on the services side, it's on T-Mobile. It's a paid service from T-Mobile. Remember, it depends on what kind of T-Mobile plan you get.
Right.
So technically, it's like any other service you're going to pay for anyway. It's T-Mobile says if you get our cheapest plan, you're not going to get this. If you get our $50 plan, then yeah, sure. So basically, you're paying into it through T-Mobile rather than the company, which makes sense.
It was still just the idea, though, that it's not like any. The one thing that concerned me was there wasn't. There was still a limit on what video streaming services. So again, like you guys pointed out in the last podcast, we talked about this. T-Mobile's been very proactive about adding services for their music streaming side. So long as we see the same participation on the video streaming side, I don't see a need for me to continue being concerned about this.
Yeah. Warren, any additions?
I mean, I felt it fell in line with what the FCC was kind of laid out in terms of net neutrality. There wasn't any real prioritization in terms of people are paying money into this, so it seems like it's fair enough. And I think if something's successful for T-Mobile, we might see other carriers sort of pull the same sort of similar features and such And it's just leading us back to the unlimited data model at some point. It's just going to lead us all the way.
It really
back
has
to
to,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to. I mean, it's going to eventually where we're all just paying. Everyone's paying the same price, or one. There's going to be 2 to 3 different price tiers, maybe at the most. Everyone's paying, and that's just where we'll be soon. It's gonna dumbify itself down again.
Yeah. Speaking of unlimited data and internet use, Chill Optionals came out and said that 51% of U.S. internet users watch Netflix. So basically, half of us, which is, I mean, we know YouTube has the traffic, but Netflix is really becoming a big player in terms of internet use. I wouldn't say in terms of subscribers, but just in terms of bandwidth use. They're talking here about Netflix now has 70 million subscribers, and the subscribers have been pushing, about 51% of that use. So just general thoughts. I'm sure you guys are not surprised about this, but anything you wanted to add to that?
I think whenever you give consumers a better solution than free, we see some fantastic traction on how you can monetize content distribution, and Netflix got there first.
Yeah.
Basically, they proved people will pay for services if it's good. There you go. Pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. According to the survey that they did, YouTube came in a close second, right behind Netflix.
People wonder why YouTube Red exists.
And then followed by Amazon Instant Video and Hulu and HBO Go in that order. So interesting stuff.
I'm happy to see HBO Go on the list, though. So I hope that encourages more outlets to consider distribution like how Netflix and HBO are trying to reach their customers directly.
Yeah.
This model has a lot of life in it, and I hope we see traction on it faster.
Oh, definitely. Moving on to services from a phone manufacturer. It looks like LG will be debuting the GPay, which is their own payment system, another one, come December. And some rumors are pointing that it might still have a physical card solution to it. I'm not exactly sure. No one knows details on that, but it will have NFC-based payments, and then it might also have a physical payment system that might involve the card. Any thoughts, or are we just okay with the 3 we have right now?
Why? That's my thought. Why?
I don't see anything compelling about another company entering this market, but I think it's one of those things LG needs to have a solution, because right now I think the next big trend we're going to see for manufacturers is trying to lock consumers in directly. So, Apple has a program where you can lease your phone directly through Apple. I'll be surprised if Samsung, LG, Motorola don't respond in kind.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have an LG payment system on your phone, especially for those markets where Google Pay isn't an option right now, then people are more inclined to go with some other phone solution, and then they'll get locked in for multiple phone generations if they're on one of those leasing plans.
Yeah.
If you let a customer go to Samsung and Samsung is leasing that phone to them directly, you've lost that customer for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Warren? Oh, Warren said why. Never mind. Sorry.
I mean, the actual service, it's another thing that I think is just going to be confusing to consumers, having yet another payment system on a phone. But I think it's one of those necessary evils. LG has to have a solution here because they can't count on Google in all markets, and they can't keep giving up individual services to companies like Samsung.
Yeah, that's very true. I agree with the sentiment why, but like you said, especially when it comes to other markets where Google just isn't making a presence. This is one of the things that I wish Google really sat down and looks at how they need to solidify Android. I had this long discussion with someone at a Microsoft store about services and why he doesn't like Android, and it's because of things like this. Because he's like, yeah, I like Android because I can switch phones. I can go to any carrier. But once I leave one company, as a manufacturer, once I leave one company, I feel like I'm going to a drastically different experience. And some of the services just don't tail over. They don't roll over to the company. So you're looking at a situation where we've talked about before. If Google went down and sat down with Samsung and said, look, Samsung Pay's features are coming into Android Pay. We're going to assume it. We'll pay some licensing fees, whatever the case may be, but it goes across the board. Then Android Pay gets a huge boost, a massive boost. And, smaller companies don't have to start thinking about, do I need to make a payment system? How am I going to get in that space? I have a fingerprint sensor. What am I going to do? It's that kind of thing where I have a Samsung phone. Say for some reason my phone dies, I decide to jump over to my blue phone, which also has a fingerprint sensor on there. But I can't use Samsung Pay anymore, and Android Pay for me is sorely lacking the way I use it. And I'm like, all right, I'm done. So
because I completely agree. The problem I think is going to be twofold. One, I don't think local governments are going to like a Google with that much power. I think we'll see more resistance if Google becomes like one of the main only options on mobile payments. And I think, two, when it comes to sort of licensing that stuff out, Samsung, I think would be very reticent, unfortunately, to license out to Google directly. I think Samsung would be perfectly fine to broker individual deals. Like, it would be really cool if LG Pay was licensed out through Samsung credit card scanning hardware. Like those two companies on their own worked out a deal. That would be amazing because that happens so rarely in this market where we think there's some sort of competitive advantage to creating walled gardens on services like that. It's just I think there's a fear of like the iPod and iTunes happening again, and no one wants to give up that much control to one organization or one entity. So I think for Google, I think they're perfectly content right now with Android Pay being an NFC-based solution because that's, quote, the future, and that Samsung Pay is a solid service now because it has backward support for credit card scanners. But as more credit card scanners get chip and PIN, and as more kiosks start developing investing in NFC, the hardware that's on the current Galaxies is going to become a little less valuable for consumers looking for mobile payment solutions. So moving forward, it's kind of okay if you don't have a credit card scanning feature built into the phone directly.
I mean, yeah, true, but I look at it also as a small market view. You're looking at only the U.S. and the West, where you still have places like China, India, the whole of Africa, Southeast Asia, Brazil. Yeah. I mean, to me, I look at it like if you want to chew up the market, then chew it up properly. Think about where you can also make those kind of big gains, especially, away from the U.S. and the West, because the smartphone market here is mature. The other markets that are growing, where if you come in as a first mover, where those people were using maybe less powerful hardware, and then they come in with a device and that has that kind of feature, you're like, oh wow, we've jumped past certain places even in the West. We're using mobile payments much more effectively than.
But the thing about developing markets is they get to skip the entrenched infrastructure in traditional credit card scanning machines.
Yeah, true.
So that could be a project for like Visa or MasterCard to go in and start saying, hey, if you have a credit card deal with us or payment card system deal with us, we're going to outfit you with these NFC and chip and PIN readers. And so if you have chip and PIN readers, then the swipe doesn't work anyway. They could potentially leapfrog in a number of developing markets so that the core benefit of Samsung Pay becomes irrelevant over the next couple of years anyway.
True. Though I would mention one thing about chip and PIN. I realized. So when I went to the Microsoft store to pick up the Surface Book, they had the chip and PIN, and they directed me to use it. But since it was the day that the store was launching, they had a couple of the tech guys just running around, just making sure that anything happened, they could fix it on site. And as I was putting my card into the chip and PIN, he was like, "No, stop!" He's like, "Don't use it. Just slide your card." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "There's the one from VeriSign." He's like, "VeriSign does a shitty job at securing this thing. It's still just better to swipe it, and we'll handle everything on the back end."
Yeah.
Because it's not. I was like, "Really?" I thought we were already past that whole point.
No, that's also going to be a teething pain that we face here in the United States, just because anything that's new is going to get handled in a sort of beta way for a while. But I mean, seeing as chip and pin has been implemented in a number of other countries for a while now without too many serious problems or breaches in security. I mean, there are always going to be breaches in security without anything too catastrophic. I would imagine that that'll clean itself up pretty quick, at least fast enough where moving forward, if people start trusting mobile payments, it'll take some of the sting off of not having traditional swipe credit card scanners everywhere you go.
True. Moving on to some gaming, PS4 backward compatibility. Some rumors and some images came out, and Sony has now confirmed that they're working on PS2 backward compatibility to the PS4. Any surprise there, Warren?
Oh, what, PS Now isn't selling enough?
Yeah.
This is hilarious. I think I mentioned this in my big review 2 years ago, and I sat here and I've mentioned it several times with you. I've sat here and said, well, what is PlayStation going to be selling well, but what's their backwards compatibility solution? What's the digital solution for that? Because they don't have any. Well, Microsoft has mentioned it several times. They're trying to figure something out. Microsoft comes out now with Windows 10 with Xbox 360 backwards compatibility. Probably the best backwards compatibility I think I've ever seen in a next-gen console, where it just flat out works. There isn't anything really you need to do for it other than just throw the game in there, and it'll download the game on your system, and it works very, very well. And they opened up an entire library, and it gave people that path. And as you remember, another thing I said before, I was like, Xbox, the reason people aren't upgrading their Xbox 360 to Xbox One is because they have a huge library, and Microsoft didn't make an upgrade path for them. Here's the upgrade path now. Now Sony's looking at that and going, shit, we don't have any games right now. Shit, we don't have any first-party titles coming out. Shit, we have nothing in terms of backwards compatibility. We charged them PS Now, but we're charging on a per-title basis. We got to figure out something. So now they're probably been developing this for a while, and they're just pushing it now.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to attacking PS2 users because that's a majority of people.
That's the biggest base they had.
That's the biggest base they had. So it makes sense to go after that. And it's probably a little bit easier to move the PS2 to PS3 than the PS3 users. But although I think they still need to focus on getting some of those PS3 games over as well too, and not using PS Now as a backbone for that. And the thing that the kicker with this is going to be is how well is this going to work? Is this going to be as bad as they had with the hardware and software emulation that they did with the PS3, where the hardware worked better, and then they took out the hardware pin to do the software emulation, and the software emulation was actually a whole lot worse than the hardware emulation of the games? Is that something that's going to happen? So it's interesting. I'm not surprised they kind of announced it. They've probably been working on this for a while, but they kind of just left it there. And then when Microsoft came out with the big update, and they probably tested it out and said, oh shit, this works way better than we've ever done before. Because I literally said, I'm going to test this thing. Because my test was with Gears of War 3. I said, I'm going to test this. I want this to be a game that requires a lot of graphical power, that requires a lot of what the 360 was about, and I want to see how well it works. And it literally was flawless and working. I think I saw maybe 1 or 2 times it actually would sort of have a lag point in there, but that could have been a lag point. It could have been on the 360 as well too, and I don't even remember it at that point. But the fact that it came out so well, I'm not surprised. I'm happy to see this. This is going to give more people more reasons to upgrade the consoles to next gen, so that gives developers more reasons to push these consoles for more games, to get better graphics out of the games instead of us sitting at this 900p crap for the longest time. To be able to get these at 1080p 60, it's going to give more people it's going to give people more reason to use it if the hardware's out there for it. So, and I know I'm going long-winded with this, but in the end of the day, I'm not surprised by this, and it's just kind of funny that it took this long for them to figure out that nobody wants to buy the games they already own on PS Now.
Yeah. Thoughts on?
I was going to say, I'll be really surprised if we ever see PlayStation 3 backwards compatibility, because any game that was properly developed for the PS3 is a very different development animal because of the processor configuration that was in the PS3.
Yeah.
So I think PlayStation 2, they have to make a lot of noise about that. Because you're absolutely right. The PS2 is still like this huge library of really fun, great games to go back and revisit. But I don't think you can emulate a PlayStation 3 with PlayStation 4 level hardware. I think they're just so different
that the processor overhead would destroy any performance.
If they figured out how to do that with PS Now, and I know a lot of it could be on the server side, they figured out how to do that with that to show up on a PS4, to show up on a PS Vita, or the PlayStation TV, which is a PS Vita basically, and they figured out to do it on there. They can figure out how to put it on the PS4.
I mean, they can. I think
since they're not figuring out how to put any damn games out for the system.
I think the problem Sony had, and this was a marketing mistake. You know, yeah, you're working on backwards compatibility for PS2. Like, we figured they'd probably be working on this on a while. PS Now should have come out at a price point that would slowly make people forget about backward compatibility.
How do you not put a Netflix style price on this shit? Yeah. Have it sitting there right in front of you.
That is because no, if they told
they got people in Nintendo working for them, because this is the same type of shitty logic.
You know, some people are like, no, it's per gas. I look, even if you told me it was $40 a month, and you told me I had the whole PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2 library,
and PS1,
and PS1, I will go. If I want to play just 2 Uncharted games for 2 months or whatever, however long it takes me to beat that game, it's almost covered the cost anyway, because I can pick anything else and play I want to choose. Mm-hmm. So they didn't throw that out there. So a lot of people who tested the service are like, okay, it's not bad, it's nice, I can use it. Oh wait, how much am I paying again for one title? $29. Yeah. Oh, come on.
No. Let's break it down. Let's talk about when I did my demo, and I think I mentioned this in my PS TV review. I was like, why do they have this AOL style pricing for hours on a game? Like, it's like, what? I want to play God of War. Yeah, you get 4 hours of play for $5.
Nice.
What the hell? Like for $5 I can find $5 I can find a still open Blockbuster Video and rent it cheaper.
I think whoever set up the pricing used to work at AOL was probably the pricing manager at AOL was like, this would be ingenious. People won't remember this. Yay!
Oh my gosh! I mean, it could have been a little bit developers' influence in that, but whatever it was, it's clearly not connected with people. It's clearly
because I agree with you. If you had the Netflix style subscription, you will not. PlayStation.
That's what I thought they were doing. That's what I thought it was.
Will never even talk about backwards compatibility. You may bring it up and say, "Hey, we're still working on it," but right now, if you want to get those old games, you can get the whole PlayStation lifetime library. I mean, lifetime. You know, and they throw out, you can get 5,000 games or whatever the amount is. You know, and people are like, "Oh, okay, fine, that makes sense."
You have this large library that's technically the only library that's bigger than theirs in gaming is Nintendo's. They have this large library of games, bigger than what Xbox has, because technically Xbox only has 3 consoles, essentially, and only has so many titles. The Xbox One didn't have as many titles as the Xbox 360, and the original Xbox itself doesn't have as many titles as the 360 has, for obvious reasons. So there's this large library of stuff out there, plenty of games to play on there, and they sit back thinking, let's charge everybody per game for that. That'd be a great idea. Not that we can create a subscription service and lock people in. Nah, we ain't gonna do that. That's the most baffling thing. When we were all here when they announced PS Now. They didn't say pricing. It was like, wait a minute, they might be doing this here. They might have something that if they take the lead on Microsoft and they slam this down, that might be the nail in the coffin in terms of dominance in gaming. They might be the guys at the forefront ahead. 2 years later, we're looking at where this might be a swap. They might swap. This might be a swap. And if we get to a point, literally, if Xbox catches up to them or overtakes them, that is the biggest flop I've ever seen in the gaming industry. That's not Wii U level flopping. This is higher than Wii level flopping. If they were able, if the Xbox catches up to them, surpasses them, and beats them on this. If that happens, Sony needs to fire a lot of people.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on from Sony. This is one I want to actually ask you, Juan, to take the lead. Reuters is banning raw photos from for their photo submission, they want the original JPEGs because of course they want it to have a faster, smoother experience on the online experience. So, just what do you think? What do you think about this?
So what I'm a little concerned by is sort of the idea of truth in photojournalism. So I would feel the safest way to guarantee that you're dealing with authenticity is to get the raw file. Yeah. Because if it's a raw file, there are no changes. There is no editing. There's no Photoshop. There's no alteration. Yeah. And so I think this is really a concern that they feel they don't have the cloud solution, the storage, the infrastructure to keep up with the insane number of images I'm sure they're getting, especially now that smartphones are capable of uploading raw files. I think this is sort of a panic response from them in seeing like, oh man, our traffic is skyrocketing now that people with Galaxy phones and LG phones can upload raw images. It makes me a little concerned because JPEGs are the result of some kind of manipulation. Usually that's benign. Usually it's contrast and saturation. But moving forward, I think we're going to have bigger and bigger problems with how stories are cultivated and how stories are reported upon. And a move like this, I think, chips away in a very, very minor way, in a very subtle and not in an insidious way, but in a very minor way. I think it does chip away at the integrity of what we take for granted. The trust that we have from an outlet like Reuters presenting us images as some kind of journalistic truth. Mm-hmm. And I hope that moving forward, as this infrastructure becomes more commonplace for people uploading humongous photo files and humongous video files, 4K video, stuff like that, that they're able to find a better solution for displaying multimedia content.
Warren, anything you want to add?
Just a very weird move to, JPEGs are something that obviously you can manipulate those, and that might, you might be able to cheat a little bit on those versus the raw format. But I mean, I just wish I knew exactly what they were aiming for. Are they just aiming to lighten the load on their servers, or are they just why would you take a less quality photo? You think this would be the other way around? They would only want raw photos.
I don't know. To me, I think this should have been something where they created a service for raw. I mean, I understand their problem, but I think this is something that they could have worked around and creating something that could actually help other companies or other organizations that eventually could be facing similar issues too, with image size and the cloud solutions and things like that. But to Juan's point and yours too, is like eventually is in the future is, are we getting the image that we think we're getting? That's the main thing, because when you hear a news story. And we get that now. We hear a news story, people post stuff on Facebook, images might be slightly doctored or somebody's photoshopped in there, and people just believe it, first of all, right? Mm-hmm. So now if one of the main sources for news is now telling us that, hey, you just sent us JPEG images. The original, but we all know that, that can also be doctored, so.
Well, I mean,
they must be getting their story.
With a raw image to engage in doctoring that's not going to be somewhat obvious. I think one potential solution could be if the folks at Reuters eventually develop their own processing algorithm. Yeah. Like keep it super encrypted, super locked down, double blind. No person has access to it outside of just maintaining the infrastructure surrounding it. And then whenever a photo is uploaded from a raw file, it's automatically in a black box transferred over into a lower quality JPEG so that no other image manipulation can happen. And I think that would be a better solution than saying, hey, we're not gonna allow raw files anymore. We want to make sure that we're getting the high side. And so we'll put our brand's reputation on the line to say that we have a solution that will maintain image integrity. And so that you can trust the Reuters name to know that images will not be doctored and that there won't be any intercepting of those images, and that we can provide you the highest possible quality journalistic experience. And I think that would be a better solution moving forward than eliminating a certain type of image file.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now, sorry, go ahead.
Maybe so. It just seems pretty awkward to me that they would kind of wait to sort of use storage the way they're using it now. Like, I just don't understand sort of the reasoning behind it, I suppose. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, this is my uselessness, even though it's super late mentioning, but I think I should mention it.
Okay.
That might be the reason.
So because I had, we talked about The Verge earlier, I went in to look at their iPad Pro review, and I started looking at some other people while we were talking, and I am disgusted. I am disgusted by all the reviews for that product. Because even though it has a lovely display, I'm not dinging the build quality of what Apple does. Apple builds a solid product. But for what the product is meant to do, these people were far too nice. They were far too nice.
It's the same problem that it's the exact opposite problem. No, it's the same problem that Continuum has. Continuum is built on the future of apps being built like apps and not like traditional desktop software.
Yeah.
So the iPad Pro and Continuum on a Windows phone are cousins in that respect.
Yeah.
Eventually, all of your work will be done this way, but the apps aren't there yet. So whenever we're criticizing, oh, a Windows phone doesn't have the app, the same is true of a product like the iPad Pro. You have all the fun entertainment iPad apps, but you don't have the infrastructure for professional grade computing that this product is making a demand of. This product is making a claim that you can get your work done on it, and developers aren't there yet.
Yeah, no, it is true. I think for me, one of the things that I found, like I said, disgusting about it is the fact that these people, in the way the reviews were written, the headlines, the titles, almost made you skip the review and go, it's just another iPad. Or when you look at the review, you go, oh, I guess it's great for me watching video content, but not really using anything else. And they don't ding Apple the same way, they completely trash Microsoft for the Surface Pro 2. Remember that? Where those idiots didn't use it, and we all know how, you went on John Rettiner's
John Rettinger was a unique experience for me, because what we saw with John Rettinger was the first Surface Pro he panned because he really just was unfamiliar with Windows 8, right?
Yeah.
And then right before the Surface Pro 2 started getting seeded out to reviewers, wouldn't you know it, he had a revelation about how elegant Windows 8 was. And so that to me was just a very obvious, like, I really didn't do my job on the first product review, and I want to make sure I'm still in line to review the second product. And that for me was frustrating, because I hold John Rettinger up to a much higher journalistic standard than I ever would the guys over at The Verge.
Right. Yeah, true. And for me, that's just it was just a sad thing. That's why I say this is my uselessness, because I'm looking at I'm going, these. Let me not abuse people. Let me just keep quiet first on that aspect. But these people. Because everyone I know who's used a 950 and talk about Continuum go, yeah, it really is a PC in your pocket. Like once you plug it in, you're good to go. Now, granted, there are no apps, but I can definitely see. I mean, it's okay to mention there are no apps, but then if you understand what it's supposed to do, you go, oh yes. Then you look at the giant iPad and I go, I mean, I have not reviewed it because I'm not wasting money to buy something that, quote unquote, is out of stock, supposedly, for this giant tablet that really does not have a capable keyboard from Apple. The best keyboard is the Logitech one. If you have it, go buy the Logitech one. You can't get a pencil, and the pencil is, I mean, yeah, it's good. It's just as good as a Surface Pencil, so, there it is. But you're looking at something that does not do anything at all other than what your iPad does. Literally, at this point in time. So
well,
I'm just wondering why.
I'm reserving sort of my spite and vitriol, because what we're looking at is that transition into the future. And really, I think the commentary is going to be on who handles that transition the best, because we still have to see what Google's answer to these types of products are. You know, like if we've been talking for a while, like we want to see Chrome OS and Android merge. There's absolutely no reason why my Android phone shouldn't have a full Chrome browsing experience on it, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, we know this is going to be the future. So if we're going to handle this with any kind of equitable commentary, then the same detriments that we would apply to Windows Phone, air quotes, not having the apps, should be a major part of the conversation when we discuss Chrome OS and Android merging, and it should be a major part of the conversation when we discuss products like the iPad Pro.
Yeah. No, I just had to put that out there. Sorry, I apologize, because I was like.
But it's frustrating because what you're seeing is sort of a journalistic hypocrisy.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and that's the thing, though. The thing is, people are looking for reviews to say, hey, this, you know, what do you honestly think? And this is the kind of problem we get from this is, I can't remember what device I used, and I said, hey, the battery life is pretty good. And everyone's like, oh, no, the battery life is shitty according to this person. And I said, well, you know, when you do a battery life test, I can either use a benchmark tool and try and drain the battery, or I will just use the device. And
does it make it through my day?
Exactly. Because
benchmark, those people that reviewers used to use benchmarks, I just go, why? I understand nerds want to see stupid numbers that mean nothing, especially on smartphones. You know, but it's not a PC. Those numbers mean something on a PC, on a graphics card, or memory, on a motherboard, on a hard drive. Numbers mean something. On a smartphone, they do not mean a damn thing. It's just a shiny number.
I mean, they only mean something relative to each other in that review. I mean, like I look at, because I really love going through the way that AnandTech does hardware reviews. Because of AnandTech, I never have to worry about ever doing benchmarks ever again, right?
Yeah. Oh, we just lost you there for a second. You said because of AnandTech, you said something.
Oh, because hold on one second. I'm gonna see if I can move to a quieter place in the house. It's because of AnandTech, I never have to do benchmarks ever, right? Because they are so consistent in how they do synthetic benchmarks. It's a waste of time for my audience if I'm trying to copy their work, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I still think there's room in the market for smartphones and tablets and talking about synthetic benchmarks, but I think we need to do a better job of expressing what those benchmarks actually mean. Because I think we saw it really clearly on the Galaxy S6 this year. That thing destroyed synthetic benchmarks. It is one of the most powerful phones ever made, and yet the user experience when that phone first launched was pretty terrible. I mean, RAM management issues, the kernel was kind of a mess, Samsung software was getting in the way of how you would multitask. I mean, it wasn't the experience of actually using that phone day to day did not live up to the amazing hardware that Samsung actually built into that phone. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we get stuck, is that phone benchmarks amazingly well. That doesn't mean your user experience day to day is going to match that benchmarking experience. So to Warren's point, benchmarks aren't valuable for getting a sense of daily operation, but I still think they're useful as part of the commentary because they're hard ways to quantify things like what phone's going to be more powerful. And I get this, I'm sure you guys get this question a lot too. You know, which phone should I get? Like, I'm worried about the LG V10 because it only has the Qualcomm 808. And I kind of want to say, you know, like, do you do a lot of gaming? Because if you do, maybe you should stay away from the LG V10. You know, if that's like a primary use for you, then I don't think that processor is going to age well for future games over the next 2 years. Yes. But if you're really mostly interested in photography, it's going to do everything that it does today for over the next 2 years, so you're going to be fine.
Yeah. The one thing that annoys me when you ask about benchmarks, especially on the battery test things, where I just say just use the device, and somebody said, "What's the screen on time?" And I'm like, what do you mean? It only gets 4 or 5 hours screen time. That means relatively shit. Do you understand?
Yeah, because so it's hard for me to quantify that, because in Southern California, when I'm using my phone a lot when I'm in the car, but I'm not using the phone screen a lot when I'm in the car. So my phone is connected to my car stereo over Bluetooth. It's connected to my car computer, because that's how I track my mileage and keep up with engine diagnostics. It's connected to my smartwatch, so I can get better readouts on notifications while I'm driving. It's streaming audio. It's keeping up with all of my notifications. That phone is getting used very heavily. It just doesn't have the screen on for any of that.
Yeah.
So screen on time for me is usually terrible.
It is very true, and I think, but again, it all comes down to your use. Like anything else.
Right.
Like when we do reviews and people ask, okay, I want to get this phone. Like I have friends. We all have friends who do that. They're like, I want to get a new Android phone. What should I get? I'm like, what do you use your phone for? I take a lot of pictures. Yeah, I have V10. Just go there and just leave me alone. Yeah. I mean, it's just basically, or like, I want something smaller. I'm like, all right, fine. Let's look at who has a 5-inch device that will fit in your hand size, that kind of thing. So it all depends on what you're using it for, and some of those things just don't transition in real life situations, because, like you said, if you're looking at benchmarks and looking at stuff like screen on and things like that, then how you use a phone, normally, I tell people I'm a power user. When I review a phone, I throw all my services in and I start using it. I mean, I walk away from my PC here. I'm using my phone, checking stuff, doing banking, taking photos, all that stuff. And I'll tell you, okay, for me as a power user, this 48-hour battery lasted about 36 hours, which means for an average user, it's probably close to 48. I mean, this is just the way it is.
I've also learned to use devices as what the target audience is meant for, because I'm not gonna sit here and power use the crap out of like something like an S6 or an HTC One M9 the way I would a Galaxy Note, because they're meant for two different user bases. I'm not gonna power use like a low-end blue phone the same way I would use an S6. It's just not gonna work in that regard. I'm even doing that now, even now. I'm not using a BlackBerry Prib the same way I'm using the LG V10. They're meant for two very different.
Although the Priv battery life does last well, though, 34.
Yeah, it does last well.
So, but I think this because and actually I should probably get going, guys. So let me wrap up on this point here, because to Warren's point, whenever I'm trying to do a review, I'm trying to answer two questions. The first question is, does this device live up to the manufacturer's claims? Because most devices don't.
Yeah, that's the first benchmark. Yeah,
that's the first benchmark.
Yeah, right. And then the second is, who is this device for? Because the thing I find most reprehensible about most gadget reviews out these days is people aren't really reviewing the device. They're reviewing what the device isn't. And that is very frustrating, because I think it takes a number of really great solutions out of the public awareness for people. Like when a Moto G drops and people aren't aware of it, when an Idol 3 or an Asus Zenfone or like the HTC A9, very quiet releases, those could be the perfect phone for someone, but then they're going to walk into like a Verizon store or an AT&T store, and someone's going to show them a Galaxy, or someone's going to show them an iPhone, and that's the safe play. And that might not actually be the right solution for them. Yeah. And so that, for me, becomes where all of us geeks, and I'm sort of preaching to the choir here, but I just mean that geekdom as a whole, this is where I think we have room to improve the discussion. Because I just got a heartbreaking comment from someone on one of my Galaxy S6 Edge reviews, where she wanted to get an LG because she'd had an LG phone in the past and was sort of showing a Samsung, and they didn't have an LG for her to play with, but she needed to replace her phone, so she went with the Samsung. And then she started seeing reviews on the V10 and felt like she'd really made a big mistake. Like, I don't ever want someone, through a lack of education, because that was a missed opportunity from the carrier. That carrier now has a customer who's unhappy, right? So I never want to hear a story of someone not having educational resources at hand to make the purchasing decision that they need to make for themselves or their family. I think that's a heartbreaking idea in this day and age, where we have all of this data at our fingertips, for someone to ever walk away with a phone that they're genuinely unhappy with. So that's just kind of where I'm trying to help. And why I like working with you guys especially is in trying to raise the level of the discussion on this for a little more nuance, because there are a lot of people out there that aren't going to be served by the same general conversation of, well, the main players are Apple and Samsung, so you should just get one of those. Like, I don't think that's an appropriate conversation to be having anymore.
Yeah, unless you're useless, and if you're useless and I like you, I'll tell you to get an iPhone.
No, but I mean, like, let's be perfectly frank, though. There are people in my circle of friends where the iPhone is the right phone.
Yeah.
I am not an iPhone fan. I do not like the iPhone, but I feel very comfortable recommending the iPhone when I think it's the right fit for someone, especially working in recording. Because there are a ton of really great recording solutions for iOS that we just don't have on Android or Windows Phone yet.
Yeah.
So for people like that, you know, I work in commercial voiceover, I work in podcasting, people need to record high quality audio. I've got amazing lightning connector microphones that I can recommend. Even though I don't like that product, I know people who will benefit from that over me trying to recommend something that I genuinely like better.
But that could change right now with the V10, right?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
it's all about, so moving forward, it's all about whether or not Marshmallow and beyond, we really do get better USB audio support, manufacturers jump on board, better accessories, being able to connect, you know, more robust items. I mean, this is why I'm excited about Windows 10 on Windows Phone. Is, you know, Windows 8 was really lacking in things like USB OTG support. That's going to be super important moving forward as pocket computers become the main data interactions that people have.
Yeah.
And so we can't get there, though, if I can't connect any generic USB microphone to a phone and have it work on video and have it work to replace the microphones for a phone call or for a video call or anything like that. And so we don't have that yet on Android or Windows Phone, but I would imagine that it's coming down the pipe very soon.
Yeah. Before you go, Juan, Mike Beard says, speaking of pictures, thank you, Juan, for featuring my pic on your show. I feel famous now.
Well, he shouldn't, because like, my podcast isn't huge, but Mike Beard sent me this really wonderful fall photo, leaves falling from trees, you know, beautiful fall colors. And I think he took it with a note. I think that's what he took it with. Oh. And it's just a gorgeous photo on Instagram. So from here on out, what I'm trying to do, because I'm really passionate about content creation on mobile devices, if someone tags my podcast, the SGGQA hashtag, on Instagram or Twitter, I'm really trying to share more of those photos. So the assignment that I gave, because I'm not going to do a podcast on Black Friday, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks, is I want to see people's pictures of food. So, you know, if you have a holiday meal or if you just go out for a fancy meal, I want to see the best possible food photo you could take with your mobile phone or tablet. And I'm going to be doing a huge rundown of all the photos that I get from the holidays. I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. Now, one more thing. What can we expect from you next week? I know it's Thanksgiving, so people are, of course, slowing down in terms of content and things like that.
So I'm not going to be having a lot of reviews coming out. If I get any videos out, it'll be kind of more blogging and podcasting. I've got the Priv, so I'm going to be I have the camera review for the Priv out, so you can see the most in-depth camera review for that phone is now available on youtube.com/JuanBagnell. And then I'll probably do some vloggy stuff. Like I want to test the front-facing camera on the Priv, so we're going to test that out with a vlog. And then we might be doing a little traveling, so definitely be on the lookout for fun photos on my Instagram channel and on Twitter. So you'll see all of that content popping up on social media.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, sorry I got a bolt, but have a fantastic Thanksgiving, guys. If anything, like I don't want to make this too hokey, but I'm really thankful we've been working together on this stuff because I personally enjoy the discussions that we have, and the audience that we've been able to bring to the table has been amazing for actually engaging in conversation as opposed to just flame baiting and retreating. So, you know, over these last couple years, these 2 seasons and the couple years that we've been working together on this, I have to say it's probably been one of the things I've been most thankful for in the world of technology is having been working with you guys.
Thank you, man. Now I'm about to cry now. I mean, seriously, come on.
Aww.
I'm just gonna.
All right. Well, have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll catch you guys when we come back. Because we're not doing a show next week.
No show next week. It'll be the following.
Okay, so then I'll catch you guys when we come back.
All right. Have a good one, man.
All right. Take care.
All right. Now that Juan has put like me misty-eyed here, let me just.
Why did the audio improve when one left?
Yeah, because Hangouts, if you have more than 2 people, the audio quality drops.
Okay.
Well, just to round up here before we finish things up, a couple of things. Amazon now has unlimited photo sharing. Unlimited storage sharing for photos. So. Yeah. Kind of capitalizing a little bit on that OneDrive thing, but if you have,
but I saw this. Well, no, actually, no. The email they sent me wasn't on that. That email they sent me was on unlimited storage in general, but the photos thing is new.
Yeah. So an Amazon Prime member, you can share your unlimited photo storage space.
Okay.
It will hold your raw files, which Reuters doesn't want to hold. So
well, maybe because, like I said, Reuters is maybe using OneDrive. Maybe they were using that. And you got to retreat.
Maybe that's where that 75 terabytes came from.
Yeah,
it was probably them. And Samsung also now has a new. I think I can share my screen. Yes. So I think So if you do Hangouts from YouTube, you can share your screen. If you do it from what do you call it again? From Google Plus, you can't. But this is the new. This is the new warning here on the S Pen. Please do not stick it backwards.
That's what she said.
Wow. Let's
somebody had to.
Let's just skip that one. But yeah, it's a new warning. I mean, it was good they did that because people are just going to, and instead of them facing some kind of litigation or annoyance or having to keep replacing phones, at least they now told you just don't do it.
I suppose so. Yeah, it's just good that it's there.
Yeah. So on that part, yes, definitely agree on. Have you started watching Jessica Jones?
No.
Oh, you should.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it at some point. I'll wait till there's like a season to binge on it or something.
The whole thing's available on Netflix. Everything is there. It's Netflix. They drop all.
I thought it was on regular broadcast.
No. It's on Netflix. So it's
It's one of these side character Marvel people or whatever, but no superhero powers.
No, she has powers.
Okay.
Yeah. She. Well, I mean.
I thought it was like that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Gotham thing. I'm not into those things. It's just like it's like trying to make a big deal out of side stories, and I don't really care about that.
So the whole play for Marvel on Netflix is there were 4 characters that were going to actually put up TV shows, and then do a movie, which their group is called the Defenders. So there's Daredevil, there is Jessica Jones, there's Luke Cage. And then Iron Fist. But it looks like Iron Fist is going to be replaced with Punisher for a Punisher TV show because they tried to do Punisher movies a couple of times, just didn't work. I think a show on Netflix.
Punisher TV show though?
Yeah, you may, but it's trust me. If you watch, you haven't watched Daredevil, right? Haven't you?
I've watched a couple episodes of Daredevil's good. I mean, it's just like Punisher is the darkest of the dark of Marvel. Like that goes.
Yeah, exactly. The Netflix TV series is dark. On Marvel, so it deals with more like intimate crime than anything else. So it's not like it's not really big superhero.
It seems like what they've used on the Netflix side of things is dealing with street level superheroes and
exactly.
And essentially these guys they're not the B team, but you're not going to see them fighting alongside the
Captain America and
not until we get to I think Infinity Wars, where we'll probably
they might rope in a few people because but I mean it's really cool. The one scene I did like because Luke Cage. So Luke Cage, if you don't know who Luke Cage is, Luke Cage used to be called Power Man. Is the brother there who he's eventually married to Jessica Jones, but his power is he's invulnerable, so nothing can break his skin. He's not like he also has super strength to a certain degree. I don't know how they're going to do it in the show, but so they get into a bar fight and a bunch of guys try to beat him up, and people like because he doesn't want to hurt people, he's like doing this. Like literally he like pushed the guy back because he knows like if the guy hits his skin or his body, it's gonna hurt him. So when he's hitting people, he's like, "Pa!" Like really like this. And then he notices that Jessica Jones she has super strength. She's also really strong. But this is like the perverted, like you're strong, I'm strong. If we have sex, like they give themselves that look like, oh yeah, it's on. So it's a good show. Besides that, it's really a good show though. I mean, like the way things are moving on that. So definitely check it out. But what I might as well go ahead and round up. I was gonna ask you, what can we expect from you next week on the channel?
Next week, now that I have my computer up and running at optimal level, mini rant here, damn you Windows 10 and your crappy way you handle dealing with PCI SSDs is just beyond ridiculousness and cost me a crap ton of time. But beyond that, I should be able to I have a couple of reviews that I need to finish up for my Xbox controller and the Microsoft Band 2. I have the BlackBerry Priv review that has to get completed as well. I also have the I'm also working on getting this installed, the Ecobee wireless thermostat. I gotta do a couple other things and ideas to try and get this thing to sort of stick to the wall and be set up properly to do the review for. So hopefully I'll have a video sort of going through the installation of that if everything sort of works out well like it's supposed to. Like I said, I'll have a few reviews coming out. I also have some gaming videos coming up too. I have a couple of playthroughs because YouTube and YouTube live streaming can be real wonky at times. Because I was originally doing these on live stream, but then it was just like the stream would cut off or would drop or would just die out, and I'd have no idea unless I looked over and I was like, oh yeah, stream is down because YouTube is being useless. So I do have a couple of more gameplay videos of Rise of the Tomb Raider that I've been playing through that I have up and available. I'll probably upload those soon as well too, and send those out. So that's what I kind of have going on next week. There'll be some videos coming out, but obviously because of the holiday weekend, it'll be a little bit on the lighter side until we sort of get back into, I guess, the last, 3-4 weeks of the year before we get to after Christmas, where everything kind of just dies out completely until CES. So
yeah. What I was for me on my end, my Ecobee got installed. I had to get an electrician because I have a HVAC system, but I've been using it. It's been pretty good.
Did you guys not have a C-wire?
No, it did have a C-wire. I just couldn't find it, and so we needed to set it up. But I have no complaints about the system. My own HVAC system is my problem because my system heats up, so you can't just switch quickly. It takes time before it switches from hot to cold or cooler. Maybe so. But anyway, I have my review up for that this week, and then I'll have a few more gaming reviews. I still have 1 or 2 gaming headsets. I might have an audio. I mean, it all depends. But the main thing that will go up this week will be my gift guide. Probably Monday or Tuesday. I would say probably Tuesday for that. Just what I think you should pick up for the holiday. If you keep picking up during Black Friday, that kind of thing, that'll be that.
Now, well, Black Friday, everybody knows what's out already. It's not even like a surprise anymore.
Yeah, no, it's not surprise.
Almost everyone's already released their
Black Friday list. So I mean, for me, this is more what you should pick up. Just because it's Black Friday and it's cheaper, I think these are like for me. My list is just what I think is just better in general. Where you enjoy, it may cost more money, but I think it will just last you longer. And you probably enjoy that device much better, depending on what it is. I'm going to say one thing or the other. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. You can check out all our channels. First of all, Mr. Juan Bagnell, who isn't here. It is somegadgetguy.com. That is the website. It is. Now my lower third disappeared. Well, whatever. It is Some Gadget Guy on YouTube or Juan Bagnell. Type either one, you will find him. Also, you can find Mr. Warren Bowman at bw1.com website. You can check him out on YouTube. It's BW1 there spelt out, as you can see underneath his name in the lower third, as well as also bw1.com on Twitter. And ourselves, Booredatwork. It's Booredatwork, and YouTube and our website's also Booredatwork with 2 O's since my lower third decided to disappear. All right, guys, thank you very much, and always enjoying entertainment.